Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with us, your beautiful hosts, once again, Carlo and Zach. Carlo, the March sadness continues against our Atlantic Division rivals. I don't think that's a secret, and we'll just kind of start from there, buddy. But how are we feeling this Sunday morning after that another home loss against a very important division rival? An important 2 points.
Another home loss. Not feeling great. Tell you that. I am not feeling great. Running out of patience with this season and running out of patience for when this team is going to show up and play a complete game, because playing one complete game out of every 5, I just don't know where or why that's a thing. It's just never going to work. Not in this division, not in this conference. Yeah. I mean, feeling pretty defeated, dude. I'm not going to lie. It's tough to go through this yet again, getting to a position where it's just right down to the wire. And you see that wire getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and you're not really seeing the urgency from a lot of the players and a lot of the guys. So defeated is the word I think I'd like to choose. How about you, dude? What are you seeing? What are you feeling like? What do we got?
I'm feeling like Steve Yzerman is going to have to approach this offseason a lot more differently than he has in the past. And I know that's kind of moving a little forward than the present and where we're currently at. We're sitting outside of a wild card spot. We are technically 1 point out of a wild card spot. It's very important to start getting these regulation wins. We're going to be jumping into everything. We got a lot to unfold here, and we might start getting into rabbit holes because there is a lot to discuss here based on what Carlo just said. I mean, he's right. We did a poll not that long ago. Can this team make the playoffs if they went 10 for 10, straight 500 in their last 20 games, Carlo? So far, they are 5-6-1. So they're just below that 500 record for the remaining 20 games of this season. Carlo, let's go ahead and jump into everything. Before we do that, though, we got to stop and take a moment to say thanks for joining us on this brand new episode. Once again, if you are returning, if you are brand new, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you guys. If you guys are watching or listening to this on YouTube, make sure you do hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You can also watch and listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you're on all the major social media platforms like Twitter, X, TikTok, Instagram, all those places, make sure you go ahead and follow us on there. And Carlo, let's go ahead and jump into, I keep calling it the March sadness. I think you coined it pretty well after the game yesterday, that this team simply just is not hungry enough. We will get into all that. We're going to touch on some bookmarks that we have here, starting off the week with, I think this is a good starting point here, because the team, while yes, they were having some issues on the back end and even on the forward end, 5-on-5, special teams, however you want to look at it, this team was kind of going downhill, especially with Larkin and cop out. But the Red Wings earlier this week, they sent ASP and NBN down to the Grand Rapids Griffins, who both are actually doing very well for them down there. Carlo, real quick, I guess your thoughts and opinions on that.
Look, Shine's still up, and he's up for a reason. I don't think there's anybody out here that can say a bad thing about Dominic Shine. That guy plays with so much heart, ambition, determination, all those characteristics that you want to see all of your players playing with, that I'm not convinced all of them are. Dominic Shine is the constant. That's not a shot at MBN. That's not a shot at ASP. ASP wasn't playing. So, I mean, go and get him some games. And look what he's doing. He's tearing it up. And this has got to be good for him, his own development. You got to remember, he's young. Same with MBN, young. We're talking about baby deers here, okay?
ASP sat for 6 games around there, was it?
I think it was 9, but I don't know for sure.
So
I
pretty
thought
high
it was
up
closer
there, yeah.
to 9. It could be. I don't know. I don't know. I think it was more than 6 though. But again, I don't know. You may be right. Regardless, he needs to be playing. MBN, watching him in the lineup with the Wings, still some ugly mistakes, some turnovers and stuff. You can't be mad at it. He's a kid. He's learning. Sooner or later, their time is going to come where they are acclimating well to the NHL. It's just not right now. And, I think the biggest reason for them going back down was because now's not the time to figure things out. Now's the time to have things figured out, right? and go and lock yourselves into the playoffs. And it's just getting harder and harder game in, game out. And frankly, I think these guys are making it harder on themselves. I don't think MBN or ASP is going to push them over the top to get to the promised land. So you need to make the decision and send them back down. And I got no qualms with that. Let them go play. Let them go tear it up down there. Let them go win something, hopefully, in the AHL with the Grand Rapids Griffins. I got no beef with that whatsoever.
Yeah, and we'll touch on this further in the episode. Carter Mazur also gets his NHL debut 2.0, but the Detroit Red Wings gets that call up the same day as game day against the Philadelphia Flyers. Like I mentioned, we will touch on that too, because you made a good point. These are just babies, where Carter Mazur, he's got a little more pro experience under his belt and his tenure within the organization. But moving forward, Carlo, because Red Wings fans that are trying to figure out, and I don't think that there's one answer to this. Maybe there is, and we're going to discuss it here, but we did a poll, and the question was, if the Detroit Red Wings miss the playoffs again, who do you put most of the blame on? We got over 1,400 votes on this, Carlos, so I think this is very telling. 2.6% of the voters voted that the reason this team does not make the playoffs is because of the players.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
27.8% said the general manager.
I think those go hand in hand to a degree.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like, I sit here and you ask yourself this question. Do you think these players don't want to make the playoffs? Of course they do. But who doesn't that wants to play hockey? It's easy for us to say from over here, behind a sheet of glass, saying, oh, these guys, they don't care. They don't they make their money, but they have to care. Like, you're a competitive athlete. I'm sure the answer to the question of, do you think these guys want to make the playoffs? It has to be yes. You're just not seeing them step it into the next gear. And that's where things fall down to that vote, to that poll, the players. They're not finding the gear that every other team in the division, in the conference, seems to have found. They're just, the Wings are the only team that haven't cranked it into fifth. Everyone else around them has. And it's just like, okay, why? What's going on here?
Using the Ottawa Senators as an example, the only reason why they lost their game yesterday is because Linus Ullmark needed the day off for whatever reason. You're making
whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, but a team like the Sens, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Philadelphia Flyers, Boston Bruins, on paper, I would say all these teams with the Red Wings, they're very much even. Very even keel type of teams. You put them down on paper, you look at their rosters, and you're like, these would probably be the four teams that I would say are battling for a spot. Maybe throw in the Islanders there. I think they're kind of getting lucky. We'll see. But in the future, but anyways, back to my point, it's really more to your point that it's very sad that the Red Wings, for whatever reason, even in their own barn, their last 3 home games against Atlantic Division rivals, they sit on their heels game in, game out, and they always want to play this catch-up hockey. The 2 losses that came this week against the Ottawa Senators, against the Philadelphia Flyers, completely obliterated the Detroit Red Wings. And Detroit Red Wings had to just always play catch-up hockey. Granted, I will give them this. I think, was it every game this week the Red Wings had a goal called back on them, Carlo?
Yeah. I mean, listen, but they're offside. Here
and that affected them, but that's what happened and that's part of the issue with this team too, is that while some players aren't showing up, this team easily gets defeated. That first goal against the Ottawa Senators that they scored gets called back because it was offsides. Kaner, and unfortunately, it is what it is. You run that play 100 times, 99 times, it's probably going to work, and that one time it goes offsides. Sens quickly make it 3-0. Then it essentially happened again. Not really, you were kind of already down 1-0, but then you go down 3-0 against the Buffalo Sabres. Same thing happens, and you try to play catch-up hockey with the remaining 6 minutes, but like you said, your buddy, he coined it. I think that's where we should be looking at it is, and maybe that's a discussion we continue on here too. Like I said, we're going to be going in rabbit holes. I feel like I'm going in a rabbit hole here, but yeah, I kind of agree that the Detroit Red Wings are in a Matthew Stafford era where
they only show up in the fourth quarter. Straight up, shout out my boy Darren. We were watching last night, and he nailed it. And I'm like, dude, Like,
They still
that's
can't even win, though.
slaps.
Matt Stafford could at least put points up on the board and get a dub here and there sometimes. The
Yeah,
Wings can't.
it's no, and it's they make too many mistakes, similar to the Lions. They make too many mistakes during the game, and then when they decide to show up, wake up, and play, it's too little, too late. You've already made too many mistakes. You've already dug yourself into too deep of a hole where even when you do show up and you are playing for 5-10 minutes at your best, which is not good enough, when they show up, they can play. But it's you can't win with 5 or 10 minutes. You just can't. It's the National Hockey League, dude. Like, you can't do that. And now you're seeing it. The loss against Ottawa, similar story, right? The loss last night against Philly, it was that story. You know, I'll even talk about the game against Buffalo. We got so lucky in that first period.
Very lucky. Very lucky win for us.
And then that was it. We had a flash in the pan for the first period, and then it was completely over from there. Like, we got lucky. If that game had more time on the clock, it's going overtime, we're losing in overtime. I have no doubt in my mind. Like, they got absolutely worked. Buffalo looked fantastic when they finally showed up. The difference is that Buffalo showed up for 2 periods and they made things like I was sweating by the end of that game. I was like, holy, like I lost a couple years here watching that. Seriously, it was insane. So, I mean, credit to Buffalo. They have it figured out. They lost the game. They ran out of time, but they dictated that game from the second period and on, you know, and then, yeah, it's, you know, that's the frustrating part, to be honest with you. I mean, you look around this division, you look around this conference, like I just said, man, you're seeing teams play like it's Game 7. It's playoffs already. I'm not seeing an ounce of that from the Detroit Red Wings, and I don't understand it. Like, how many times do you need to be in this position before you figure out how to throw it into 5th or 6th gear and show up, especially at home, dude? That's the frustrating part now. I just can't figure that one out. I just can't.
Your thoughts and opinions on the fans booing the Detroit Red Wings the past 3 home games?
Yeah, I mean, how do you not? How do you not?
Do the Wings deserve it? Are fans rightfully so to boo?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think so. I mean, listen, the one thing I'll say about Red Wings fans is they don't cross any lines. You know, they don't do what we've seen other teams in the Atlantic Division do when their teams are on a skid or anything like that, and they're throwing stuff on the ice and being just dumb. But boos, yeah, you got to listen. Hockeytown shows up in both ways, and you better be prepared. You want to enjoy the highs of the Hockeytown crowd, you better be ready to enjoy the lows of the Hockeytown crowd too, or at least take something away from it. You know, I've been in that arena. I was there against Montreal. It was electric. The boys were hitting. It was unreal. They gave the fans something to freak out about. It was insane. Hey, that works 2 ways, because now you're not playing good enough. You're not playing as well as every other team around you who's also in this battle. And Hockeytown's going, and when I say Hockeytown, I'm obviously referring to the fans. They're going to let you know, and they should. Absolutely, I think they should. These guys need to hear it. If they're not hearing it from their coach, which I highly doubt, I'm pretty sure they are. If they're not hearing it, hell, from their GM, which I'm sure they are, you're going to hear it from the fans. And I think that needs to continue until these guys figure it out, and that's if it's not too late. And I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer on this beautiful Sunday morning, dude, but I think it's too late. I do think it's a little too late.
We had some people on our last episode when it was covering about the NHL potentially having a problem with Gary Bettman in the playoff format. And then even the previous episode too, we've had some commenters, some watchers and listeners come onto our show in the comment section and saying, thanks for not being so doom and gloom about it. And we're trying not to, but we're being realistic. We're being honest about our team because we love them so much. That's really what it is. It's not like, hey, this team's completely out of the playoffs. Like I mentioned earlier, we're still just 1 point behind. We still have plenty of games.
I lack the confidence because I think this team also lacks the confidence.
And that's fair to say. I would agree with you on that.
You know, I'm kind of ebbs and flows with this team's performance is where my confidence meter is. You know, like the game against Buffalo, after that first period, I was riding high. But then I watched the second period. I'm like, whoa, like what's happening right now? Right? Like we're getting just rang out right now. So now that starts to dip. And then, you know, the game finishes. You go into a day off. It's a practice day or it's back to back. It's like, okay, if we can find that zip we had in the first period, we're going to be all right. We should roll this Philly team. Not the case. we got rolled.
Yeah, and let's backtrack a little bit. So this kind of pertains to the poll a little bit. Like we mentioned, majority of the voter, 1,400 of them selected the players. It was, call it 63%. So a lot of commenters on that poll too, because we did ask them to leave a comment. Some started saying that it's because Yzerman didn't quote unquote tank long enough, Carlo, and that's why the Detroit Red Wings are in a spot right now that they're in. While they do have Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider, and fans say if you redid those drafts, they would be top 5 picks, but we did some investigating. Unfortunately, we did miss some because there were just so many picks. But the NHL top 5 picks by team from 2015 to 2025 with 2026 in mind. And the question was, does selecting top 5 in multiple drafts boost your chances for cup contention as an organization? And you look at some of these teams out here in the East, Carlo, like the New Jersey Devils have selected first twice. They've selected fourth and second, so 4 top 5 picks. The Buffalo Sabres, they've had 3. Jack Eichel's no longer on the team, whatever. Then you look at the Montreal Canadiens, they've had 4. Columbus Blue Jackets, they've had 3, and then the list kind of goes on and on. The Red Wings have had 1 since 2015, and then you have to think of 2026 in mind where some of these teams are going to be getting another top 5 pick. Answer the question, I guess, does selecting top 5 in multiple drafts boost your chance for cup contention as an organization? Should have Steve Yzerman tanked a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, it must. If you look around, these teams you're telling me have more than three or more top 5 picks on their team, and they're doing a lot better than we are. So that just quick answer is maybe. Like, yeah, I guess. I don't know for sure. Should Steve Yzerman have tanked a little bit longer? I mean, I feel like I don't think so. I'm probably going to catch some heat for saying this, but at what point do you guys go back a little bit further and remember that Ken Holland whiffed on a lot of first round picks?
Yeah, you're gonna catch heat for this.
I'm for sure gonna catch heat.
That up.
Dude, I don't really care though. It needs to be said. Like, I understand it was 10 years ago, but you got to remember, like, not 10 years ago, but we're getting there. These kids, that if Ken Holland would have picked and nailed it and not whiffed, these kids would be 28 or 29 years old today. They would be prime players.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be having this conversation. So if you want to start talking about Yzerman and play the hindsight game, well, then let's go back a little bit further and play the hindsight game on what Ken Holland didn't do for this team on his way out of being the general manager for the team. I'm not shooting at Kenny Holland, man. The guy's a legend. Yeah. But, like, dude, you whiffed. Like, you messed up the last couple years as the GM, and everybody, like, nobody's going to disagree with that, but it's weird how people play this hindsight game and they don't go back that far. It's like, well, you're already going back. Let's look at the whole big picture of the last, X amount of years. Where are the players that would be 28, 29 right now? Where are they? They're not here because they weren't drafted, and they could have been. I don't know. To round this off to answering your question, I guess if you have the more top 5 picks you have, the better your chances are at being a little bit more hungry or a little bit more relevant in this playoff race and in the standings. Because you're telling me those teams, you're listing them off, they have 3, 4, 5, whatever. Buffalo, Montreal. Who was the other one?
New Jersey Devils, Montreal, Columbus. I mean, there's plenty of others with some other picks as well. Senators, Tim Stützle, Jake Sanderson.
Yeah, I mean, so I
look at Toronto Maple Leafs, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews.
Yeah, I mean, Mitch Marner's just next level. Anyways, I guess the answer is yeah. I mean, I don't want to say 100%. Yeah, I'm more leaning towards maybe, but it tracks. Everything's tracking. You know what I mean? Should Yzerman have tanked longer? I don't think so. I don't think that's the answer.
We were having some very deep discussions in the chatters on the live stream last night, and I don't really want to make this a topic. If you want to touch on it, Carlo, you can, but if you want to divert from answering this one, I have no problems with it. We will keep it in this recording, though. Should have Steve Yzerman traded Dylan Larkin?
What for who?
I don't think that part is really the key thing here. I think where the fans are getting at from that is because he's not getting any younger. He's going to be 30 pretty soon. And you do look at Steve Yzerman, he really didn't win a cup until he was like 32 years old. But you look at the difference in what Yzerman had in his lineup opportunities. And while there was no salary cap, it was a lot easier to coerce players to come here and just pay out the wazoo for it. But a lot of fans seem to think that Dylan Larkin just simply cannot get it done. And he is not captain leadership material. And
based off of last night, or is this like the last couple of, because he's still injured, dude? Like he is.
And that's the counterpoint to it too. He's still literally playing on one leg, but history has shown, Carlo, the last couple seasons in March, you would think a leader of the team, and I'm trying to speak from these fans' perspective, so this isn't really my take. I don't think the Wings should trade Larkin. I think they never should have entertained trading Larkin, and they didn't, thank goodness, because where would this team be without him? I don't know. Maybe we would have gotten someone to replace him. Who knows? But
It's
I'm
hard
not
to
on board
replace
with
a
it.
centerman, dude.
But trying to speak from that fan perspective, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes that as the leader, it's been a couple seasons now. You haven't been able to get through March. Carlo, you said it. Since what was that year? The Red Wings haven't had a 500 March in 10-something
Since
years.
2011. Another shout out to my boy Darren, dude.
It's crazy.
He told me that I didn't believe him. He's like, dude, it's been 16 years. I said, what are you talking about? He's like, go and look. And I went back to 2011, and that's when it started. They have not been above 500 since 2011 in the month of March. Crazy.
Got a quick question for you. Kind of touching on the Philadelphia Flyers game a little bit. Also, fans are saying that Steve Yzerman didn't do enough at the trade deadline, and people in the media world are asking the same thing, and if Steve Yzerman should be on the hot seat and everything. What do you think about I kind of asked you before we started recording, so it's going to be regurgitated here, Carlo.
Yeah,
but David Perron, 6 games, really not much to show for it. But we both said that we love his board battles. He's pretty much the only one who wins them. But your thoughts on the David Perron trade, and I guess overall thoughts on the Justin Falk trade too, as well as a whole.
I like both of them still. We didn't really move the needle too much. Falk solidifies the back end, although he's had a couple games where it's just not been that great. And I don't know if that's on him or if it's on, Sherratt and Falk together, like as a unit. I think it was against Ottawa where they looked like they were struggling. Like I think it was against Ottawa. It was like, yikes.
So some fans also made the argument that what you gave up for Justin Falk, if you just would have added a little bit more, and instead of going for that defenseman, you could have gone for a legit number 2 centerman, let's call it.
Maybe.
Would you have preferred that if you paid a little bit more? If that was the ask for a legit number 2 center, would you have rather done that than Justin Falk?
You're paying a lot more. It's not a little bit more. You're asking for a 2C, and I'm sure the first person that comes to mind is Robert Thomas. Well, Robert Thomas was all over these interviews post deadline saying St. Louis never asked me to waive. They never asked me once to waive. So was there an offer there? Did they set the price so high that they basically made it impossible, where they basically told teams without telling teams that he's not going anywhere? Kind of sounds like it. You would have had to give up so much to get Robert Thomas. First round pick is not even the starting point. Not even the starting point. You're probably giving up 2 first round picks plus a top end prospect, plus a second or they made it so hard and difficult and expensive that it was basically them saying he's not available.
Yeah.
And that came out when he wasn't, when he said straight up, he's like, I wasn't asked to waive my no trade clause or anything. So hindsight is a hell of a thing. It's a fun game, but you gotta take it all with a grain of salt and a lot of realism, because could we have gotten a 2C? It's easy to say that, right? I don't think so. And frankly, I think we were all saying it. Filling the hole on defense is the priority. That needs to be the priority over a centerman, because it was a big, deep hole back there, right? And it's gotten better. We are playing better defensively, although the last 2 games we have gotten hemmed in. And really, that was the first time we've been getting hemmed in post-deadline. Like hemmed in bad. Like, the hemmed in that we're unfortunately accustomed to over the course of the last 3, 4, 5 years. But we haven't seen it a lot. And that's promising to me. That's progress in the defensive zone and clearing pucks out. Like, that's progress. Is it still going to happen? Sure. Of course, teams catch fire. You're going to get hemmed in from time to time, but it's happening far less, I think. So to me, that tells me that the right thing was done in getting Justin Falk. Again, hindsight, we gave up our first round pick. Well, that's what it takes to get a guy like that. So you need to choose what side of the fence you're on. Right? Do you want Yzerman to make a move or not? Because if you do, you need to be supportive of what it costs to do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it. If it's bad for the team, he wouldn't do it. We've seen him be super conservative. He just wouldn't do it. He made it clear, not Danielson, not Casper, not anybody is available in a trade. He's made that clear, and that's come out too post-deadline. So, if he's going to trade his first-round pick, let him trade his first-round pick. We still got all his first-round picks. You brought that up last week. So, to me, I'm thinking now back to that poll. Is this on Yzerman? Is this on the players? Dude, I agree with the answer of the players. They need to get it figured out, dude. They need to figure out how to slam that gear into the next channel and go, because everyone else around you has done it. What are you waiting for? That's why I said they are just not hungry enough in compared to the teams around them. Done.
That's a good transition here, because we are going to now kind of backtrack a little bit in the week, and this comes right after the loss against the Ottawa Senators. And this was a tweet from Ansar Khan, and this is a quote from Dylan Larkin, and says, Dylan Larkin, quote, "The room is mad. The guys are mad. That was a big game for our hockey team, and unfortunate how well we played against those guys all year. And then this one tonight, it kind of wipes away our record against those guys because that was a big game." Also continues on to say, "But we're going into Buffalo on Friday night, so we have to pick ourselves back up. And that's mental toughness." And I believe that's why Justin Falk is here, and David Perron, and Kaner, and myself. And we got to pick each other up and find a way through the next 11. Carlo, the room is mad. The guys are mad. That's a weird way to show it out there on the ice when you're going up against an Ottawa Senators team who was out Jake Sanderson and Thomas Chabot. Their top four was nearly non-existent. And they call up Carter Yakimchuk, I believe, who was making his NHL debut, and rips one. Absolutely rips one on John Gibson and the Detroit Red Wings. So is the room... Are they mad? The guys are mad? Do they want us to feel sorry for them? What's going on?
Are they mad at who? Are you mad at yourselves? Because you should be. Listen, I'm going to go easy on Larkin because, he's obviously back sooner than he should be. He's still injured. You can't tell me that he's not. So you can't really go too hard on Larks. But, last night he was just nowhere. He was absolutely nowhere the whole time.
Yeah.
If you're on the ice and you're playing, you got medical staff letting you play. Try to make a difference. Pull the Henrik Zetterberg. Be their position. You don't got to be the fastest guy on the ice right now, but be there positionally, right? You played with him long enough, Larks. Come on. It was just not a good showing from anybody. Mazur was my favorite player to watch last night. The guy was just ripping around, but...
So let's talk about that real quick. Yeah, he started on the third line with Emmett Finney and Marco Kasper. And honestly, at the start of the game, Carlo, that looked like it was going to be the best line of the game. But they kind of disappeared a little bit throughout the game, just like every other line did.
Exactly, dude. Every other line did it. And again, you ask now, are you mad? Who's mad? What are we mad at? Is it because we couldn't hang for the full 60 minutes? I'm just going to go back to that, the room is mad thing. And, when you say that, and fans are listening to that, we're expecting you to be mad for the rest of the season. It's a short season now. We're talking about 10 games. We're not expecting you to be mad for the one good period you had against Buffalo, because that's when it looked like you were mad. And then you just got happy again. You were like, oh, they just scored 3 against Buffalo. Oh my God. And then they just worked you.
First period goals don't come very often for this Detroit Red Wings team, who are ranked dead last in first period goals.
Bro, maybe they were mad, and that was the driving force, the ambition behind those onslaught of goals against a top team in the league. But then what happened? And then that carried over to the next game, right? That brings us right into Philly last night. Where was the anger at? Again, it's just this team looks like they're playing hockey, and it's October 20th or it's November 7th. Bro, it's March. What are we doing here? We need to put it into gear. Whether it's a manual or you got the paddle shifters, start clicking, man. I don't know what else this team needs to do, who they need to hear from. That's the frustrating part, dude. And then the goals. You come and score 3 goals late in the third. That makes it even more frustrating because it shows that you are capable. You just waited until there was 5 minutes left in the game, and then you come and turn it on. It's that's not enough, man. So, hey, maybe they're mad now. Legend says they are. Let's see if that lasts longer than 20 minutes, because I just don't understand that phrase. Yeah, I would expect you to be mad, but what are you doing with it, right? What are you doing with it, and how long are you letting it motivate you for?
I'm stuck on the part where he says, and I believe that's why Justin Falk is here, David Perron, Kaner, and myself are here. And this is a quote from Dylan Larkin. So when I hear and see this, I'm looking at my screen and reading this, I think this is a word for word, a quote from Dylan Larkin from Ansar Khan tweeting it out. I believe that's why Justin Falk is here, David Perron, Kaner, and myself. When I hear all 3 of those names, I guess including Larkin in there, 30 3+ year old dudes who have been in the league for so long, but they don't have the gas tank like someone like Emmett Finney does, a Marco Casper. That's kind of the theme that I'm recognizing here, Carlo, and some fans have made this a point too. I think we've touched on this on a previous episode too. Is the NHL turning into just a young man's league now? Where if you're under the age of 30, you're still serviceable. And you look at how Steve Yzerman approached it. We had some chatters say this too. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Dan or Whiskey, whoever it is, chatters. I appreciate you guys watching this, but whoever said it, Steve Yzerman took the approach that Ken Holland always used to do, which was go for aging vets because of their experience instead of speed, tenacity, grit, whatever else is going to come with that. So I guess it's like a two-part question here.
I mean, is it a young man's game? Yeah, for sure. The speed of the game has increased exponentially, but I mean, that doesn't mean you don't have, you got to have, like, I think if you don't have vets on your team, you're going to have a team of just lawless, kids who are going to be just that. They're going to be lawless. And I think the veterans kind of keep things in check, right? But you have a head. Yeah. Like you have a coach. Sure. He's not on the ice. He's not going through it with you the same way you are as a player. So when you have those guys, and Perron's a perfect example, he's on the ice, he's skating, he's shooting, he's passing. When he opens his mouth, you're going to listen because he's out there with you, and that's part of the reason why I think Perron's here. He's a voice, whether it be in the room, on the ice, on the bench, whatever the case is. Dude, I watched him last night. He was the only one board battling and actually making a difference on the boards. He just had no support. He had no outlets. So if I'm David Perron, I'm opening my mouth about that. Dude, where were you? I was waiting I needed help here. I was on the boards against two guys and I had the puck. Where were you? Todd McClellan can't say that because he's not on the ice. He's behind the bench.
Do you think it's a coincidence that Detroit Red Wings finally decided to turn it on when David Perron got that 10-minute misconduct with like 9 minutes left to go in the game?
There you go. You see David Perron do what he did. He gets his misconduct and now you turn it on. Is that what needs to happen? Because that's not sustainable. The answer to your question is yeah, maybe, but that's not the way that's not the way a team goes out and plays the game. Did that piss them off? Maybe. It's like, well, people, why aren't you pissed off at the start of the game? Why aren't you pissed off at the start of every game that you were second or third in the Atlantic Division and now you're looking in. You're looking through the window when you were already at the dinner table. Like, why isn't that pissing you off to start the game? Why does something have to happen in game for you to figure out that, oh yeah, dude, we're not in anymore. We should probably go and haul ass right now. Like, go look at the standings before you start the game and remind yourself that we were here and now we're down here. That's what I would do. That's what would get me fired up. I don't know what they need. They need some sort of memento to get fired up every single game, it seems. And that's just, again, I don't think that's sustainable. But sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. So kind of keeping on to the question here, but I'm looking at it on Elite Prospects, and it says that the average age for the Detroit Red Wings right now on their roster is just a little over 29 years old. You look at the vets. So some of the names that we just mentioned, Dylan Larkin's 29, David Perron, he's 37. Even throwing in James Van Riemsdyk, he's 36, who did not play against the Flyers, and he's like your fourth highest goal scorer on this team, which some people were very confused why you would sit him over someone like Mason Appleton, which I thought Mason Appleton had actually two really good games, and he scored against the Philadelphia Flyers.
Legs. JVR's slow, dude.
Yes, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. You're looking at this roster right now. You have your vets that are very slow, but they have a lot of experience in the NHL. Then you have your really good players who are, if you even want to call them really good players, some would say that I'm wrong here by saying this, but you got your Dylan Larkins, you got your Moritz Seiders, you got your Raymonds. I don't know if I said Raymond, Simon Evanson, Alex DeBrincat. So that's like 5 names there. Then everyone else you could easily say is a bottom 6 player. We don't have any middle 6 players. Maybe some would say that Alex DeBrincat's a middle 6 player. Raymond's a middle 6 player. Larkin's a middle 6 player if they were on cup contending teams. Okay, that's fine. This team just has such a weird mix, Carlo, because you still got Marco Casper. He's in that sophomore slump. You got Emmett Finney. It's his first year in the NHL. Carter Mazur, he gets his NHL 2.0 debut, and that whole entire line looked out of sync. JBD, he doesn't look like he just signed a 2-year extension with the Detroit Red Wings, touching on that $1.6 million AAV. Some think that that's a 7th defenseman right there. We also
I would take him over Hamonic all day.
We also asked the chatters too, is Albert Johansson or Ben Sherratt going to be the left-handed D? Two, for next season, no one thinks either of those guys can be a second pair left-handed D. So it's going back to what I said earlier at the beginning of this episode. Yzerman might have to make the approach differently in this offseason, where it's going to have to come via trades, because we talked about it, Carlo. That free agency pool, the best player you could probably get is Patrick Kane. And he's going to be 38, 37 years old this upcoming year. There's a lot of issues going on right now with the Detroit Red Wings, and I think it starts really with they call some fans, the chatters, they were calling it a retool. Would you call it a retool? But they just got a lot of players on here that they can move on from, like Michael Rasmussen. I feel like that they can move on from somehow, some way. JT Compher is an obvious one. They extended Ben Sherratt for whatever reason. I don't know why. And then I guess even talking about, I don't know, Carlo, I think I'm throwing too many things out here, so I'll let you take over from here, and then I'll ask more questions as we continue along. But your overall thoughts for my rabbit hole there.
Rasmussen, sorry. No, like I'm just looking at the lineup too. It's funny that you were there. I mean, I don't even want to get into the lineup right now. I want to finish this season because there's still time, technically. You know, they have games left. They just need to get motivated the right way. Is that a Todd thing? Is it a Steve thing? Does Darren McCarty got to come to the room and do something crazy? I don't know, but they need to figure out something that's going to consistently motivate them to get it to play every single game as complete as they possibly can. Then we'll get into the lineup stuff, man. Ben Sherratt, you talk about, you know, Rasmussen. Like, there's a lot of obvious guys that anybody can really tell you if they watch this team. It's like, what are we doing here? Let's get into that a little bit later. Let's let this play out and truly take this one step at a time and one game at a time. And, you know, and let's just hope and pray, I guess, again, dude. Because we're just going to drive ourselves nuts going down all these scenarios. We really are. We got to take this one game at a time. You know, I really don't know what else to say, dude. I mean, I there's a lot of flaws with the team. I mean, you nailed it with I'm not going to go into it in too in-depth lineup-wise, but, you know, do we have a lot of middle six players? Yeah, I think we do, you know, but I only think that because of the division we're in. So, like, when you're talking about this team and their success and their capabilities and their skill level, generally speaking, you know, you're really talking that looking through the Atlantic Division lens. Because, again, everybody else around them is just getting better. So, you know, we've heard Steve Yzerman talk at the end of the last couple of seasons about, you know, these players. I think we have a good enough team to be a wild card team. And I think it's got to come from within. It's got to come from these players. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. It's the question is, are these players good enough to get there? I think on some nights they are. So this makes it very difficult for, I'm sure, not only me and you, but everybody else who's watching every single game. You see this team show up and put on a show. Prime examples against Montreal. You see them come out and put on an absolute show. And then where does it go? You don't see that again for another 10, 15 games. Why is that? Like, that's what we need to be looking at and figuring out the why behind that. Because if they've played every game since Montreal, since the game against Montreal, had they have played every single game like that, brother, we would be comfortable right now.
I would agree.
You know?
Yeah, I'm with you there. Final poll. This was asked after the loss of the Ottawa Senators, but I think it pertains even still after the Philadelphia Flyers loss as well. So we'll just say that we did this poll last night for the sake of it. Very difficult, inexcusable loss last night for both the Senators game and the Philadelphia Flyers game. They were very crucial games. Do you believe the Detroit Red Wings can still make the playoffs? We'll change it. It's at 11 games left. Now it's 9. But when you lost to the Senators, you went from like a 50-something% odd chance of making the playoffs down to 39. Then you won against the Sabres. You went back up to 50%. Now you're probably back down into the 30%. But with 9 games left, Carlo, 711 voters, 64% of them said no, the Detroit Red Wings cannot make the playoffs. They still technically can. I guess we should have phrased it a little better. Will the Detroit Red Wings make the playoffs? So in this case, the voters said no. I still think there's an opportunity there for the Red Wings to take it. You look at the schedule on hand. I think the Red Wings now have a very much easier schedule than some of the other teams that we're going up against for that wild card spot. So your thoughts and opinions on this from the voters.
If I had to choose one answer, what were the options? Yes, no, or maybe? Or was maybe not an option?
It was yes or no.
No. Not from what I've seen. Not from what I've seen.
Fair. That's fair.
I don't think they're not hungry enough. They're just not. I'm not sure how many more games people need to watch to realize that. But, I mean, listen, they're not eliminated until they're mathematically eliminated. I understand that. But have you guys watched what we've been watching? I'm sure the answer to that question is yes.
Go watch my reaction in the last live stream,
man.
bro.
They're not hungry enough, man. And I hope someone tells them that to their faces. You guys are not hungry enough. And maybe that'll make the room mad again, and they'll come out swinging for the next 9 games. Because think of it this way. The only reason why I'm not saying yes or even maybe is because they would they have to go 8-0-1 in the last 9 to be in? 7-1-1? What do they got to do? I wonder how many games they've won in a row this season. What's the most games they've won consecutively in a row this season? 4, 5?
Probably somewhere around there, and that came at like the start of the season. Yeah, you had two seven straight heaters last season. We haven't seen a sniff of anything close to that.
New coach bump. Yeah, I don't think so, dude. It does not look good. I hate to say it. I really do. But
the odds are in your favor for that, though, Carlo. Like I said, the odds are they're definitely less than 50% now. They're probably in the 30% chance. I haven't seen MoneyPuck come out with their odds quite yet this morning, but it's got to be pretty low down there.
Their chances as of right now are 38.8%.
So we're back to where we started before the win against Buffalo. So after the loss against the Sens, we're back to square one. Buckle up, boys and girls. I guess we'll kind of end that discussion from here, but just touching on
Boston's
a little bit more.
Boston's at 82.7%.
Gosh. Yeah, I think they got the wild card 1 spot. I think wild card 1 might be unattainable right now, but that wild card 2 spot, Carlo, we're just out of it by 1 point. I'm still holding faith. I'm still going to hold true that
you have to, and so am I, dude. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm still going to watch the games.
Yes, I know. Yeah, you're just as much as a ride or die as much as I am, and anyone else who's a Red Wings
dude. Fan. It's just we're all frustrated, right? We're all frustrated. Emotions are running high, and but to your point, they're technically still in. They're not mathematically out. There's still something to watch. It's just hoping that these guys get the message.
Yes.
Like you kind of need to take it up a notch, and for a lot longer than 20 minutes. Let's hope they get that message.
Yeah. So a couple more things to go here, but Moritz Seider played in his 400th game, and that was against Buffalo, where he actually scored his first career NHL goal against. It was against the Buffalo Sabres, so huge game, which the Red Wings were able to convert that into a win, which is huge. But Moritz Seider tallied 2 assists in his 400th career game and became the second defenseman to appear in 400 consecutive contests from the start of his career, and that's joining Ivan Provorov, who played in 403 games played. He also became the 3rd Red Wings defenseman to record multiple 50-point seasons before age 25, following only Reed Larson, who did it 4 times, and Nick Lidstrom, who did it twice. Other than that, Alex DeBrincat scored 3 points that night, factored on 3 goals, and helped the Red Wings move within 1 point of the idle Islanders. Oh, they kind of made this weird. Okay, for the season wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. He becomes the 3rd Red Wings skater in the past 30 years, Carlo, to post 10 3-point games in a season, following Pavel Datsyuk, who did it 12 times in 07-08 when they won the Cup, and Sergei Fedorov, who did it 10 times back in 02-03. Alex DeBrincat has been absolutely huge on this team and has been on an absolute tear. I think now he's up to like 20 or 21 points in the last 13 games played, something crazy like that.
Killing it.
Where would this team be without someone like Alex DeBrincat, man? Like, that's not really a question I'm asking you right now, but if you want to speak on that just a little bit.
We'd be in the basement, my friend.
We would definitely
Justin Falk wouldn't be on this team. We'd still have that 1st-round pick. DeBrincat probably would have got traded. But if he wasn't on this team to begin with, a guy like DeBrincat that was on our team, whoever was our best player, scorer, would have been traded because we would be in the basement. But thank God he's with us. He's on our team. We just need a couple more of them to show up. You know, Seider, DeBrincat. Trying to think, man. Those are like our 2 aces, really. Raymond's starting to catch, which he usually does at the end of the year, but DeBrincat and Seider, like those guys are our pillars. Those are really our pillars. And that's the sad part, dude, because if you cover those 2, go off on a little tangent here. Cover double coverage on DeBrincat. You throw everything you can at Seider. I mean, even then, if you throw everything you can at Seider, it's still a coin flip. Like he might still make the play.
He took a pretty big hit the other night, though. Did you see that against the boards? First man I seen that man off his skates ever.
Yeah, it's true. 50-50 coin flip there. But again, like you neutralize those 2 guys, you've neutralized the Detroit Red Wings. And that's bad. But anyways, go ahead.
Alex DeBrincat ties his career high in points at 78, and he's done it just in 73 games, and he is on pace to finish the season with no games missed. So he's projected to finish the season with 82 games played, 42 goals, 46 assists for 88 points. That would be the team high. Lucas Raymond, you mentioned Lucas Raymond. He's got 70 points in his 70 games, so he's still a point per game player. Dylan Larkin just shortly falling after that. Moritz Seider now with 51 points in 72 games, who still could get double-digit goals for the Detroit Red Wings, and that would be the first time in his NHL career as well. But he's on pace for a season high as well, Moritz Seider. So yeah, if some of these other guys like Lucas Raymond, if he can start picking it up a little bit more, that would be great. It looks like that he is. It looks like that it seems like he was definitely injured. Whatever happened in the Olympics, it carried over. That's what a lot of fans are saying. Who knows? A shoulder injury, something like that. Who knows?
For Raymond?
Yeah, some people were saying he had like a shoulder injury or something.
I saw him shaking his wrist. I can't remember. I think it was against Boston. It was right after a shot, and it was his right wrist where it was like right after the shot, they panned to him like the network.
That. Yeah.
And he was just kind of doing this. And I wonder if he's got, dude, those hurt. Like those hurt. Like it's in the bridge of your wrist.
Yeah,
I know exactly if it's his wrist. I know exactly what that feels like. It's terrible, but it is something you can play through and shake off. But when you go and use that part of, when you're using your wrist for that shot, you're gonna feel it. But hopefully it's getting better, managed and getting better, because he's had a couple sweet shots since then, and it's looking okay. We just need more people to step up.
One stat that they actually mentioned in the game yesterday, and it was nationally televised, ESPN via ABC as well, and they said that the Red Wings ranked, I think, last in the NHL or something like that when it comes to shots in the slot. That's a huge issue for this team, and it shows they can't even shoot the puck when they're in the slot on the power play. They just always do the same thing over and over again. But I digress there. I don't want to go into another rabbit hole.
Yeah, we've been pretty gloomy and doomy. But I think we're starting to get our emotions in check.
We're due for one doom and gloom episode a season.
It wasn't really
right?
even
I think
that
the
bad.
first one
wasn't even that bad of a
doomy
doomy and a gloomy, because it's just really calling it like we see it.
Call us out if you guys want to, if we're being a little too harsh, but I think we're being pretty realistic as fans first and foremost, Carlo. But Dylan Larkin, well, the Red Wings like to play for, recognition, accolades, whatever you want to call them. They won for Moritz Seider, but then Dylan Larkin played in his 800th game against the Philadelphia Flyers, and they got smoked there. But congrats to him. That's a huge milestone. That's not a lot of players get to end up making there. But yeah, then going back to Carter Mazur, who makes his NHL debut 2.0. I'm not sure if you want to touch on him and how he looks, but he started on the line with Kasper and Finney. I thought that was going to be an exciting line. So going back to that, I thought they looked good or somewhat decent in that first period. But then just like every other line, they kind of overall disappeared. But Carter Mazur, he came in and he was on a hot streak with the Grand Rapids Griffins, posting goal after goal after goal, and gets that call up. And he only ended up with one shot in this game. But your overall thoughts and opinions on Carter Mazur? And, it's funny because earlier you brought up how we got some young guys on this team. And this is a guy who I like to say he got lost in the weeds. I think this is someone who you can kind of call as a lost prospect, so to say. And I think that's kind of due to the injuries, and they're all kind of fluke injuries, or at least that's what some are saying. But he finally makes his second NHL debut, 2.0, let's call it. Your thoughts and opinions on it, and the outlook on Carter Mazur. What does he got to do to stick within this lineup? Can he actually start producing goals like the Red Wings probably hope that he can bring?
Well, he made it through his first shift. That's a plus.
Injury-free.
Yep. He made it through, and honestly, he looked good. He looked really good with that Finney and Kasper line. Finney and Kasper looked really, really good together. Even before Mazur got called, Finney and Kasper looked really, really pretty solid together. Good chemistry being built there, and they just looked like they were buzzing around and they were feeling the zip of one another. My thought now is, to be honest with you, when I saw the Mazur call up, and happy belated to Carter Mazur, by the way.
Yes.
His birthday yesterday.
Yes. And to Razor.
And to Razor, of course. Can't forget that one. When I saw the call-up, Zach, I thought it was going to be Mazur, Larkin, Raymond. I really did
crossed my mind as well.
Yeah, because Confer's not it. I'm sorry. It's what are we doing here? Like, that's not that. So I wonder now, understanding that, like I just said, Kasper and Finney have been good together for quite, I don't know how long exactly how many games they've been rolling together, but they've been noticeable. I would move Mazur around at this point. I would throw him on the top line and maybe shift Comfer down and swap out Mazur and Comfer and see if that sparks. Because last night, I don't know if you saw this, but the expected goals 5-on-5, Larkin, Raymond, Comfort were like at 10%. Like they were at the bottom, dude. It was just.
I did see that. Yeah.
So, I think Mazur comes in, fresh legs. He looked really good. He had a great zip about him last night in that game. Put him on that line. Let him go out there and kind of be the legs to the line, similar to what they did with Casper. He was the whole reason why Casper once upon a time was on that top line is because he provided legs. He provided energy. Let's let Mazur do that so we can keep Casper and Finney intact and actually have a true lineup of somewhat chemistry and depth all the way through and see if it does anything. But Comfer on the top line needs to be changed. They need to be reworked. The lines need to be reworked, and they need to have a
I agree with
practice.
you, especially since if I would assume the reason for the call-up is because you want to provide more goal scoring. How often do we see that top line scoring? Is JT Compher a goal scorer? Absolutely not. He's had a couple goals, unfortunately, get called back for whatever reason, but that dude's not a goal scorer. I mean, I'll give credit to JT Compher. I think he had an all right game yesterday. He definitely had some speed out there. He was trying. He was hustling and bustling. I'll give him that, but you can tell he's not with it for the top line. He's just not meant for it. And I agree with you. I think if you're going to try and experiment a little bit, you got to try it with Carter Mazur being that guy who can shoot the puck. Because if it's not him, Carla, you've called this out, and so have many others. Why haven't they put Alex DeBrincat back on that top line?
Dude,
why?
They're going to
play with Kaner? That line's not really doing anything either. Did you see how many times Patrick Kane whiffed on that puck yesterday?
Yeah, I did see that. That's very true. I wouldn't be surprised if they finally do it. It's got to be somebody, whether it's DeBrincat or somebody else other than Comfer, But, I almost wonder if they were to stack Kopp and Comfer on the same line. Like, I almost wonder if they were to go, let's say they did, DeBrincat, Larkin, Raymond, and then they go Finney, Casper, Mazur as the second line. And then you have Kopp and Comfer on the third line with, I don't know. I don't even care. Like,
it's
Appleton,
kind of to that point now where
Shine, Perron, I guess.
Honestly, overthinking it just fries your brain. It fries your brain, honestly. Like I said, if you guys want to see my reaction to yesterday's game, I mean, it kind of paints the picture on how you feel as a Detroit Red Wings fan right now. I'm like that. Have you ever seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Who's that one character in that one GIF where he's like going like this and he's got like all the plans behind him on the board and he's like going like this? That was me during the live stream yesterday because I was like, this team, man. I don't know, Todd McClellan, you can't put blame on Todd McClellan at any point. Last season, we always said it was the coach. Okay, we bring in the new coach. Okay, now we're kind of getting into the same routine as we did with Snoozy Lalone. So now it's an easy pick apart. It's the players. It's absolutely the players, and it kind of goes back to the thumbnail that I don't want to say it's the team, because I think that's doing a disservice to some of the players who actually are going out there and trying, and we don't know the injuries. We won't know until the end of the season when Tom McClellan comes out saying, yes, Larkin was obviously on top of his leg. He had this. Lucas Raymond had this. Moritz Seider had this. We'll learn all of that, and then we'll have to play the sympathy card a little bit. Oh, that's the reason why we didn't make the playoffs. Whatever. But there's one too many, probably two, maybe three, too many players on this team that aren't hungry enough. And that is what's slowing us down. And I'm going to go back up to it and say Steve Yzerman needs to approach this offseason differently. Call it a retool, whatever you want. But you have to get those 1, 2, 3, too many just jersey players on this team out of here. Would you call that a retool at that point if it's like 3 or 4 players that you want to try and move out? I actually think Steve Yzerman makes the approach where how he did it this season. Someone like Ben Sherratt, JBD, if young players come along or if you sign players to free agency, make a trade, do whatever, however you're going to do it and make it tough come training camp in the offseason to get a roster spot. I see players like Ben Sherratt, maybe even Mason Appleton, going through waivers and possibly playing in Grand Rapids. What are your overall thoughts on that, Carla?
I mean, I don't know, man. Like, is it a retool? I don't know. Like, if you're just kind of cycling through technically, yeah, it is a retool, but it's not like a drastic one because we're retooling the bottom 6. Like, so I guess you could call it a retool on the technical side, but is it like a really heavily weighted one? Not really. It's bottom 6 players. But I think that's definitely necessary. That needs to be looked at because you nailed it. So did Todd. Far too many jerseys on this team. There's too many guys that just aren't playing for the guy next to them. Instead, they're playing next to the guy next to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're just skating around and they're expecting that guy to do it or they're expecting the guy over there to do it. this needs to change fundamentally. Some things need to change, whether that's personnel, whether that's motivation. That's not a shot at Todd, by the way, but something needs to change. And hopefully we see it. You talk about a big offseason for Steve Yzerman earlier. You're damn right it is. Is that going to mean that doesn't just mean like players though? I mean, you can really only do so much. Like I don't expect to see 4 or 5 guys that are under contract suddenly not be here anymore. Like that's not easy to do. There are still contracts in place. So then the next thing comes down into, okay, well, what are we doing to get these guys mentally in check? Because if you got years left on the books, 1, 2, or 3, we need a better version of you for the next couple of years. So what does that look like? And what does the retooling behind that look like? Is it going to be a personnel retooling? Maybe a little bit, but I think it's going to be a big time mental retooling. And I don't know who's doing that, but somebody needs to.
And I love how you phrase that, because that's exactly what it would be, is you're just kind of recycling the bottom 6 when it comes to players like a Mason Appleton, throwing out a JVR out there too. You're just going to recycle, and you're probably going to end up with the same thing. And you very much could probably just, instead of going in free agency and signing these players for a little bit more money because the cap's going up, why not just bring up some of these young guys? But Carlo, that brings us to, it's going to be my final question to ask to viewers, watchers, listeners, and to you. And I'll answer this as well. Other media keeps on asking the question. We already brought this up, but other media keeps on saying, is Yzerman on the hot seat? Should he be let go? Some say he should be given a pass because of the circumstances. They were a team that was top 5 for 2-3 months this season in the NHL, and then the injuries kind of got to him, and March just does not like the Detroit Red Wings. But anyways, the question is here, because I feel like his seat is hotter than it's ever been, but does Steve Yzerman need to make a boom or bust trade in the offseason to save his job? And we're talking top 6, maybe top line player, top pairing defenseman. Does he need to make a trade that could potentially boom or bust his tenure as the general manager of the Detroit Red Wings? So think like Elias Pettersson tier, where his contract is so high, you can get him for a little bit cheaper than maybe some of these other players. It's a boom or bust type of trade. Not saying that that's who we're talking about, but do you think Steve Yzerman needs to make a trade like that to elevate this team to not just be contention in a wild card position?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he knows that too. And I think if it's doable, it's going to happen. But it's not going to happen if it makes the team worse. It's just not going to happen. Now the question is like, well, can we get worse than this, where we're just constantly stuck in this like middle zone of the league and not making it in, and constantly looking through the window of making it in? Yes, I'm on the side of, you move somebody. If that means you're getting a needle mover, like if you're going to get Jason Robertson and it costs you a first round pick that you've selected in the last few seasons, plus a second, plus a roster player, not another first round pick, but I don't even know if that's enough. Like I'm thinking like of a Nate Danielson plus a second round pick plus a roster player right now. Is that enough to go and get a guy like Jason Robertson? Probably not. But if it is enough, for some miraculous reason, yes, you go and do that. And that's the type of trade that needs to happen to take us to the next level. Pardon me. So to answer your question, I think it needs to be 100% the top priority for sure. But obviously it can't be something that's going to derail and take away from where this team is truly at. Because you got to remember, man, if this team was in, what division is it? The Pacific? I think we'd be a playoff lock. So yes, we need to do something that keeps us afloat and at par with the Atlantic Division teams around us. But we also need to have the vision to understand that, okay, well, if we do this, is this going to hurt us 2 or 3 seasons down the line? Whereas look at Montreal, look at Buffalo, Ottawa's starting to fizzle back up. Boston, I don't know how it's possible with Boston doing what they're doing, but we need to make a move that's going to help us now, yes, but also keep us relevant in the next couple of years too. And that is where things get tricky.
It does, because I think it was last episode, maybe the one before that, where we talked about how this season, it could be an anomaly in 2 different spectrums, where the fact that the Eastern Conference, for you to make a wild card spot, you have to be damn near 100 points to get in. But also looking at it from the perspective of you have teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs are way out of it, the Florida Panthers, the New York Rangers. I feel like that's very weird, out of the norm. The New Jersey Devils as well. You got teams like the New York Islanders doing well. Like I mentioned, I don't think that that's going to continue as the years go because they're just a very old team, and Matt Schaefer is just unreal. A huge bump for them there. But yeah, and you brought up Montreal Canadiens. They made that Noah Dobson trade. They're making moves to solidify their opportunities because next season, Carlo, like you just said, maybe not now, but maybe now might be next season if we're talking about a Robert Thomas trade or an Elias Pettersson trade. Steve Yzerman this often needs to make a move like that, whether if that's for another top 4 defenseman or a top 6 forward, because you're going to be competing against these teams that aren't in it right now. It's not going to get any easier. And these teams that were bad, the Buffalo Sabres are first in the Atlantic Division. What?
I know, dude. It's crazy.
You talked about the firing of, or you talked about GMs too. I mean, that's a team that fired their general manager, and look at them now. So that's where some fans are looking at that too. That's one thing that the Red Wings have not done, but they've obviously not made some changes on the personnel in terms of who's playing on the team, the jerseys, and everything like that. But yeah, in terms of the boom or bust, I think Yzerman, like I just said, Yzerman needs to go out and get a top 6 or a top 4 defenseman if he wants to be competitive for at least a wild card spot next season. It's going to be the same thing. I think there's going to be way too many teams. The Red Wings aren't the only team that's trying to get better in this time frame. I mean, looking at the Montreal Canadiens, the Buffalo Sabres, all these other teams. Yeah, how Boston's still in it, I have no idea. Columbus Blue Jackets, dude, this is fuck. I almost swore. This is just crazy.
Yeah, that was close. He almost zipped up there.
But no, I don't think it. I don't think you should make a boom or trust to try to save your job. And I don't think Steve Yzerman will be looking at it from that perspective either. But I thought that that was a very good question to ask. And I always want to hear from the commenters at any point throughout these episodes that we do record. Let us know your thoughts and opinions and leave multiple comments as you're watching and listening. We do appreciate that. But yeah, Steve Yzerman needs to go out and trade for a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman. He absolutely has to. He has to, and if he doesn't,
easier said than done,
I will.
Man.
If he does not, though, Carlo, I will. And I know the cost is going to be extremely high to get either of those two things. But if he doesn't, I'm going to start asking a lot harder questions. Now, maybe that comes from some of these young guys, though. Who knows? I got to wait and see that still. I mean, so far for me, I'm more leaning on the side of I would rather trade some of our prospects now for players that I know can be good, serviceable players for us now and within the next 3 to 4 years than keep waiting another 3 to 4 years for these guys to make the team and maybe be an impactful player, so to say. I think all the guys that we drafted will be impact players, but Robert Thomas impact type of player? I don't know. Do we have the time to wait for that? Does Dylan Larkin have the time to wait for that? We still have Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond locked up on great contracts. Are we going to waste half of those contract years to wait to possibly see that? So a lot to be unseen.
Oh, that's a fair question, dude. So that's a very fair question. And I think we know what the obvious answer is. Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves talking about offseason. Let's see what happens here. There's going to be a lot of things that still need to play out in order for, a brass of any team to start making some decisions. That's the reality of it. I know some people are going to be like, dude, it's easy. It's an easy decision to make. There's 9 games left. These guys just aren't good enough. Okay, cool. Sure. There's an 82 game season for a reason. These guys are going to look at every single game. They're going to look at every single data point from every single game, and they're going to make some decisions. So let's get back to where we are today. We got 9 games left. They need to really, really, really figure out how to stay motivated for a full game, how to start on time, especially at home, because this is just not the way you play hockey in the playoffs. If they do sneak in, but they sneak in with some very inconsistent play, we're getting bounced in 4 games. There's no doubt about it. But if there's any time for a team to get hot, catch some heat, and figure things out, it's right now. There's a lot on the line. It's the perfect time of year to do it. And if you can go into the playoffs hot, you will be a scary team to play against. And that alone could help you out in the postseason. So that's my final thought, folks. If you haven't figured it out already, that's really my final thought is we want to take things one game at a time. And we really, really hope and send some juju and whatever to these guys to say, get hungry, get motivated, get fired up, stay angry, be pissed, do it all. And please come out and play a full, complete 60-minute hockey game. Do it for Zach, man.
Please. My hairline is receding more and more each game that I live stream. Honestly, it's getting pretty bad. But good final thoughts from you, Carlo. I thought that was good. My final thoughts are just a couple more things to leave on the board as a Red Wings fan. Expect Anton Johansson to join Grand Rapids here pretty soon. His SHL season is over, so he should be in North America for good moving forward. Hopefully is the case. Carlo, the big one here. Maybe we should have said this at the start, but if you guys made it to the tail end, truly do appreciate you guys. Trey Augustine, Michigan State Spartans, they lost against Wisconsin. They were winning 3-1 with, I believe, like 10 minutes left to go in the third. Ties it up super late, and Michigan State loses. It is officially Trey Augustine entry-level contract watch.
Yes, it is.
I'm not trying to make another question here, but a lot of fans are trying to figure out, what's the move with them. The Red Wings called up Postava. Cam Talbot had to come in relief for Gibson, so the Red Wings sent Postava back down today. It's going to be interesting to see how they move forward with the Kosa Trey Augustine thing. A lot of fans say Kosa is going to be the backup guy next year. Some fans aren't really too on that. There's some fans out there that are questioning that still, so we're just going to have to wait and see. Then obviously the John Gibson thing, where are you going to extend him? Are you going to let him walk for free? So we've touched on that before. Go find those episodes. And my final thoughts are just win. Just win, please. They play against the Pittsburgh Penguins on Tuesday. That will be my birthday, so I will be live streaming that.
Shout out.
Hopefully it's with a dub. Talking about the standings, once again, the Detroit Red Wings are 1 point back from a wild card spot. If they did win and the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Ottawa Senators lost their next game and the Red Wings won, the Red Wings would be in the second wild card spot.
One game at a time.
You have to be very careful. You look at the Philadelphia Flyers. We have one more game played than they do. They have 84 points. They're 2 points behind us. Luckily, we have more regulation wins than they do. And that's why I stress how important these regulation wins are, because we have one more than Columbus. The Ottawa Senators have 4 more than we do. Do we really want to put ourselves in the position like 2024 where we get knocked out because of a stupid tiebreaker? And I asked you, Carlo, how does that go? It went whoever has the most wins, regulation wins, overtime wins, then it goes by in-season matchup. Who has won the most out of their matchup? So it would come down to the 0.5 or 6, whatever that list mentioned on there. You gotta look. The 2 points are very important, but please, for the love of God, do it in regulation, Detroit Red Wings. Please. I don't want 2024 again. Please don't do this.
I know, dude, for real. I know. Hey, but in order to win in regulation, you need 3 complete periods and you need some 5-on-5 execution. You really do. And folks, you heard that here first.
Detroit Red Wings, that's non-existent. But yeah, go on.
Hey, I was just about to get into the wrap up, my friend.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
So we appreciate y'all hanging with us as always. Drop us a line, drop us 2 if you want. Let's stay engaged. Let's stay talking about this, and let's talk about what you think the problems might be and what you think would help. If you were the head coach, if you were the GM, if you were the captain, what are some things you're doing a little bit differently to get this team buzzing again? Because somebody needs to step up here in order to get the troops all firing up. So that's what I'm thinking. I'd love to hear what you guys got in mind. We've said a lot. We've had our own opinions for the last 60 plus minutes, really. So we appreciate y'all hanging with us till the end of this one. And with that all said, we will catch y'all on the next one. We out here.
We love you. Here. Goodbye.
What a beauty. What a
See
beauty.
You guys. Beautiful. Nice guys. Very nice guys.
Sweet guys.
See ya.